Some houses don't change white brick green shutters and eyes that still judge me the moment I step inside. November air follows me in. Portraits of ward men watch like verdicts. Behind them lives my father's lesson: Jonathan is the heir. I'm the tolerated deviation. Grandma Beatrice is the first touch that feels human. Her palm is light and steady on my knuckles. Do what is right, not what is loud, she breathes. I fix her shawl. Beneath my cuff, a slim bracelet lies cool on my pulse metal as habit insurance mistaken for jewelry. Relatives arrive like weather fronts. Catherine drifts in on cold air bracelets chiming. Still living out of suitcases, she asks, head tilted like a question that already circled its answer. Travel's simpler when you carry less, I say. From the sitting room, my father's voice rides the house. Mother gives a kiss that doesn't land. You made it, she says. The dining room is dressed for inspection, linen sharp as a crease crystal, eager to collect confessions. Conversation hovers at the polite altitude where weather and traffic pass for substance. Each time I speak, sound drops a degree. The roast sends up a thin curl of rosemary. Silver keeps time in metallic strokes. Grandma holds the head of the table quietly, sovereign, her napkin folded like a flag. Whispers sketch another map, property lines, accounts, the old house. Rumor says Jonathan will inherit almost everything because legacy here is a mirror, not a duty. I sit midway down, close enough to hear the verdict, far enough not to be carved into it. Jonathan chooses the angle that flatters him. Catherine leans across her glass. DC must be electric. Briefings, motorcades, all that power. She wants a postcard, glossy safe suitable for mantles. Most work worth doing looks dull from the outside, I say. Breaths synchronize. Jonathan waits for attention to unclench, then takes it without seeming to. He sets his glass down with a ring the table will keep, and leans so everyone can borrow his voice. Still doing that shadowy consulting in DC, sis? Or is unemployment just easier? The chandelier ticks. A cousin freezes mid-cut, knife suspended as if motion needs permission. I keep my hands where they are. The bracelet cools against skin, a quiet circle reminding me preparation outranks performance. I think of rooms where silence carried my weight, briefings, windowless corridors, garages that smelled of wet concrete. I think of this room, where silence was a sentence delivered before evidence. The difference is, who holds the pen? Work doesn't always fit dinner conversation, I say, level, unhurried. The portraits don't blink. Jonathan smiles like a door that wants to be chosen. I meet his eyes and think, he doesn't know silence is sharper than any accusation. The oak table stretched like a courtroom bench, and every fork paused as if waiting for a verdict. The chandelier hums like a sworn witness. Jonathan lets the room breathe an inch, then narrows it. He smiles over his glass like a litigant sure the judge is his. Under my sleeve, a slim bracelet presses cold against my pulse, a clock kept by blood. Remind me what you do, he says, curiosity honed to a point. Who's your boss? Salary, benefits? I work on contracts, I say. Different teams, different weeks. Names. He asks the room more than me because the room is the game. Discretion is part of the agreement. Forks falter, then resume. So, no co-workers to vouch for you, no office to visit, no building with your name on a badge. The smile passes to Aunt Marion, then Uncle Gregory, then Mother, who watches her napkin. Father studies the carving knife. Grandma clears her throat. I looked, he says, and the oxygen changes. He lifts a manila folder from beneath his chair. Strange, right? No firm. But there were traces. He slides the folder down the table. Hands reach. Out spill grainy photographs, me near a glass lobby. Me stepping from a black sedan. Me under a parking deck accepting a flat envelope. Strip the context and the ordinary looks illicit. That's the trick. Murmurs ripple. Mother gasps, fingers at her pearls. Father studies the gravy. Someone says my name like a question that refuses facts. Above, portraits of ward men gaze in oil and judgment, framing Jonathan as if he were next to inherit the right to accuse. I hired a private investigator, he says. 4 months, comings and goings, vehicles, buildings. Jonathan Grandma says this is dinner. This is family, he replies. Family deserves the truth. Across from me, Catherine stares at her phone, haunted by a thread she forwarded Sylvia's in D.C. Till Thursday, here's her plate. Check on her if you're nearby, sent with cousinly concern and the wrong audience. Why those buildings? Jonathan fans the photos. Why those cars? Why no website? No LinkedIn? No number? Why is my sister one door from places civilians don't walk into? Because some doors have reasons, I say. Your reasons are invisible. They're intact, I answer. That's the point. He stands. The motion is practice, napkin folded chair, angled chin, lifted to catch the chandelier. For a heartbeat, the portraits and his shoulders make a single line, a false mantle on a man who thinks uniforms are inherited by association. Enough shadows, he announces. We can see patterns. He lifts a photograph toward Mother like a communion wafer. She looks away. He reaches to his belt. A small click travels farther than it should. Metal glints. The room inhales. Sylvia Ward. You're under arrest for impersonating an officer and disgracing this family name. Grandma pushes the table. Crystal shivers. Jonathan, please. He ignored her, his voice growing. As a sworn officer, I cannot overlook this. He advanced, cuffs gleaming under the chandelier. Every relative leaned forward, breath caught, certain history was about to be rewritten. I rose slowly. The photographs lay scattered before me, their context stolen, their silence damning. Jonathan's shadow stretched long across the linen, eager for applause. In his eyes, I saw triumph already written. I extend my wrists willingly, whispering to myself, the order only fires if I don't resist. The cuffs clicked. The house inhaled. Then the boots hit the floor, and the air belonged to me again. Jonathan's palm presses my shoulder as if he is pinning me into history. He recites Miranda, slowly savoring each right like a trophy. The chandelier trembles above the oak. 23 relatives hold their breath, frozen cutlery suspended. I tilt my head toward Grandma Beatrice. I'm all right, I whisper, eyes fixed on the hallway, where a winter draft shivers the front door as though timing itself were waiting. The lock bursts. The door slams wide and boots pound hardwood in cadence. Leather, brass, and metals cut the light. 5 officers advance in formation, silence wrapped around their precision. Wine stills, forks hang, and portraits shake faintly against the plaster, as if the painted ancestors disapproved of the air they once blessed. This is a police matter, Jonathan barks, grip tightening. He pivots, so the portraits stand above him like approval. He believes in theater, and the room is his stage. The line parts. General Samuel Pierce steps through. The winter air folds behind him, dismissed by rank alone. He looks at me first, measured, brief, then at the hand gripping my arm. Lieutenant Ward, step away from Brigadier General Sylvia Ward. Now. The title lands like a gavel. The room stops. Edward and Helen shrink inside their clothes. Catherine's bracelets stop chiming. Jonathan's fingers hesitate yet refuse to let go. Sir, with respect, he starts. This is over. Pierce cuts. The word ends everything. He nods. A junior officer steps in, key biting metal. The cuffs spring free. Blood rushes back, leaving 2 bright bands red beneath the chandelier. Marks more honest than any photo Jonathan displayed. Pierce raises his hand in clean salute. The team snaps to attention, the sound sharp enough to stitch the crystal air. General, we're here. I answer with stillness. Strength is silence held steady. Pierce sets a sealed order onto the linen beside Jonathan's folder. You've interfered with an interagency mission outside your authority. Your jurisdiction ends at that threshold. Jonathan fumbles for his badge. It looks small now, a coin without weight. You can't. Fort Wexler issued a standing order, Pierce says evenly. A geofence duress beacon signals restraint on a protected asset. Extraction begins. No debate. No delay. His gaze fixes Jonathan. You were warned when you ignored the threshold. The chandelier steadies. The house listens like a body receiving its sentence. Beatrice's fingers relax from the napkin. Edward drops his knife flat. Catherine studies the wood grain as though she could vanish inside. The jury of kin reshuffles their verdicts in silence, rewriting memory to suit survival. I face my brother. He wanted portraits to sanctify him. Instead, they must witness his undoing. You didn't arrest me, Jonathan. You caught your reflection. My voice is low, almost merciful, yet it cuts deeper than any blade. Ma'am, the junior officer offers softly, clearing space. I adjust my sleeves. The marks disappear beneath fabric not erased, preserved. Air returns thin but alive. Jonathan tries again, appealing to faces now uncertain. Everyone saw, he insists. She's always where she shouldn't be. This is theater. Pierce sets 2 fingers on the sealed order. Theater ends when the law enters. Chain of command isn't an opinion. It's a map. Behind him, the formation stands corridor of consequence. The winter wind shakes the rug, desperate to escape, yet held inside. Jonathan swallows hard. You're my commander. Pierce's voice hardens to iron. In the only chain that matters tonight. Learn it on your way to the briefing room. If silence can shift a family's fate, imagine what comes next. Stay with me, subscribe, and be ready for the next chapter to unfold. Dinner ended with dishes. Judgment begins with evidence. Steel replaces oak. The air at Fort Wexler's secure conference room has no perfume of roast or wine, only the metallic hush of filtered ventilation, and the hum of screens shielded by walls that never forget. The seal of the department glints behind me like an unblinking eye. 5:30 has turned into 5:40. The night has not ended so much as it has hardened. I sit in dress blues, sleeves, crisp gloves white, the red bands beneath them hidden but not erased. They throb faintly, a private ledger written into my skin. General Pierce presides at the head. JAG counsel opens his pad pen angled like a scalpel. An intel officer keys up the first frame on the secure screen, a date stamp 12 weeks earlier. Jonathan sits opposite, no badge, no belt suit collar, slackened like a man already removed from his own theater. 2 U.S. Marshals bracket him, silent as marble. The timeline unfolds with the indifference of fact. Week 1. Jonathan retains a private investigator named Langford, fee wired from his personal account. Week 4. Surveillance photographs my silhouette near a restricted lobby, my reflection in glass doors with no public entry. Week 6. Payment ledger traced through bank metadata verified. Week 9. USB recovered from Langford chain of custody tagged. Week 11. Cell site records pulled under warrant establishing illegal stakeouts. Week 12. A capture of the Ward family chat. Catherine's message glows on the screen. Sylvia's in D.C. until Thursday. Here's her plate. Jonathan, check on her if you're nearby. Harmless in intent, weaponized in use. Jonathan stares at the table as each link tightens. I only wanted the truth. He mutters, eyes darting toward the marshals as though sympathy might be hiding in their cuffs. No, I say, voice steady, carrying only enough weight to land. You weren't hunting truth. You were hunting applause. The words hang like iron filings in the air, pulled by the magnetic seal on the wall. The intel officer scrolls. CCTV footage. Public domain. A figure with a camera trailing me into corridors marked with classified signage. Langford's deposition text appears beside it. Client insisted she was fabricating identity, demanded proof for family gathering. The room does not move. Even the lights feel frozen. Grandma Beatrice joins briefly on a secure line. Her voice crackles with both distance and clarity. I saw enough last night, she says. Jonathan, I gave you a family. You made it an audience. The line clicks silent again, leaving no place for rebuttal. Pierce leans forward. His hand rests on the sealed order already signed. General Ward recommends prosecution, he states, tone dry as fact. Charges obstruction of interagency operation, negligent compromise of federal assets. He signs the referral to the U.S. Attorney. The pen scratches once a signature as final as a hammer. The marshals rise. Jonathan's breath falters into silence. Pierce looks at him one last time. Honor is not a shield, it's an invoice. Last night you signed one you can't pay. The words settle over the steel table, not shouted but branded. I flex my fingers inside the gloves. The marks still burn beneath two parallel lines, reminding me of the cost of silence and the ledger it keeps. Secrets weren't for pride, I murmur, half to myself, half to the room. They were for keeping people alive. The secure line buzzes again. Counsel clears his throat. Ma'am, codicil confirmed. Public filing at noon. Executor of record Sylvia Ward. I glance at the clock. 5 hours until daylight swallows the secrecy whole. My reflection glints faintly on the steel surface as I push back from the table. We take this to the steps, I say, the echo colder than any night. In full daylight. The night ended in chains. The day begins with silence, and silence will speak louder than every accusation. Noon lays a pale sheet over the courthouse steps. Reporters crowd the rail microphones tilted toward whatever will bloom next. Veterans line the balustrade caps, pins back straight. Grandma Beatrice waits near center in her wheelchair shawl, snug at her throat, eyes steady. My parents stand behind her in shadow. I move into the light. Dress blues take the sun. White gloves pull tight over the faint red bars at my wrists. The marks don't hurt now. They testify. Beatrice's whisper from last night threads the noise. Do what is right, not what is loud. Marshals guide Jonathan up from the van, tie askew, confidence unbuttoned. Cameras pop like hail. A clerk climbs the top step, opens a folder, and reads. The language is plain. The weight is not. The sealed codicil affirms the estate passing to me, to the granddaughter who defended not only this family's name, but the nation itself. The sentence crosses the square, collecting gasps, shredding whispers. Catherine's breath catches. Her hand goes to her wrist as if to check for a mark that isn't there. Mother studies the stone. Father studies nothing. Jonathan lunges against the marshals. You only wanted the inheritance, he shouts, hunting faces for a harbor. My inheritance has always been written on my shoulders. Microphones take the line and carry it past the steps. It isn't anger, it's weather clearing. General Pierce stands to one side, quiet as a flag until wind finds it. The veterans lift their hands in a tied 1-2-5, a line palms cutting clean through noon. The square hushes. Beatrice's chin lifts, and I feel the distance between noise and witness. I raise the certified codicil and the referral order paper bright in the sun, then lower my arm in return salute. Flashbulbs catch the white glove drawn over the faint scar like a ledger closed and signed. Jonathan's eyes drop, the world finally taller than his explanation. A reporter asks if I have anything to say to the family. I think of rooms that smelled of lemon oil and lessons recited as verdicts. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the verdict that outlasts their noise. The words are for the record and for the girl who once learned to breathe inside walls that didn't want her air. Beatrice takes the microphone. Her voice, thin as lace and durable, reaches the first row. Justice late is still justice, and silence sometimes is proof enough. She nods toward me like a benediction and sets the mic down. The veteran's salute holds a corridor of hands and memory. Behind me, my mother begins to cry softly, and my father, too proud to touch her, anchors his fingers in his pocket. It is not the reconciliation I imagined. It is the truth we have. We leave the papers with the clerk. Pierce inclines his head. The marshals turn Jonathan toward the waiting door, where noon becomes hallway, and hallway becomes custody. The square exhales. The town fond of tidy endings receives one that is honest instead. As marshals lead Jonathan away, I turn from the cameras thinking, the war is over. Peace, in this family. Maybe never. I step forward through the corridor of saluting veterans. I stood on those courthouse steps, the scar of last night still burning beneath my gloves, and I realized silence had been my truest weapon. To all of you who've listened, tell me, did I do right by staying calm while my brother tried to destroy me? Comment below. I want to hear your voices now because for years mine was buried. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: silence is not surrender. Hold steady, trust your truth, and remember justice may arrive late, but it always arrives.